Welcome to Zen Footsteps. My podcast is designed to invite you to explore new perspectives and challenge the way you see the world. Through engaging conversations with thought-provoking guests, we're going to delve into the idea that you can transform your thinking and inspire personal growth. From redefining success to uncovering unconventional paths to fulfillment, each episode is a step towards expanding your mind and embracing the journey of discovery. So join us as we walk alongside innovators, thinkers, and change makers who can help you see life in a whole new light. Hi guys, and today I've got a really great guest. He's actually a friend of mine too, so it's quite a privilege to have him on here because I look up to him in many ways of the achievements and the things that he's overcome. So today's guest today is Dr. Danny Scarhill. Now, he's a seasoned expert in the healing arts. In fact, 25 years of experience, including 18 as a chiropractor. He's also an author of two bestsellers called Total Health Transformation and 80/20 Chiropractic. And he's also the founder of the Chiropractic Mindset Mastery, that's called CMN program, and podcast as well. So through CMM, Dr. Danny has helped chiropractors grow their businesses while maintaining balance and avoiding burnout. And boy, do I know what that's like. This is a challenge that he's actually overcome himself. And his approach is really good because it blends business development with personal growth, empowering clients to achieve their professional and personal goals. So please welcome my friend and my guest, Dr. Danny Scarhill. How are you doing, Danny? You all right?
I'm very well, mate. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a great honor, mate. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. And I am very jealous of you. Can you just tell the listeners where you are?
Yes, I can indeed. We're in Bali right now, and we were in Thailand before Bali. We arrived in Bali, 2 days ago? We're here till the end of Feb. So I don't know what it's like in England right now, but it's pretty good out here.
Tough life, mate.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
So it's really good. So, okay, so I've got some really, I've known you for a long time, but it's really funny when you've known someone for quite a while, you know them, but you don't know them, right? So I know you as a friend, but I don't kind of know your journey. So my first question really, I suppose, and everyone's going to know, is what inspired you to pursue this career in health? And how did you transition from that? Because your background, let's go right back to the beginning. Let's go even back before you became a chiropractor. What was that calling that you had?
That's a great question, mate. And you'll know from being a chiropractor for longer than me, that a lot of chiropractors get into the work that they do due to some sort of injury. And mine wasn't that different in that regard. Like what was I? I always forget now because it's been in the healing arts now for a long time, as you mentioned in the intro. Always forget exactly whether I was 14 or 15 or 15 or 16 when I injured myself. And that came about, excuse me, being from Liverpool. The football is like a religion, as you know. And in fact, some would say it's bigger than religion, but anyway, that's by the by. So I used to play footy like twice a day, and used to do kickboxing and karate 3-4 times a week. So I was very, very active and very, very fit. And so when I was somewhere in my teens, mid-teens, I got injured. Like I remember, as you said, we've known each other a long time, haven't we? I think it's 15 years or just coming up to 15
at
years
least.
now.
It goes way back.
It does. And so like I'm only 5'7" now, but when I was 15, I was about 5 foot nothing. Doing kickboxing, I was coming up against people in sparring and competition and stuff that are a lot bigger than me. And so I said to my dad, well, my mum and dad, I want to get some weights. And my dad said, wait till you're 18. You'll be fully grown by then, or you'll certainly be more fully grown than you are now.
Sounds like a thing a father would say, right?
Totally.
Wait one day until you're a man, my son.
Yeah, pretty much in a nutshell, that's what it was. And was he right? He was right.
Yeah.
So he said, yeah, wait till you're older to get some weights. And I said, like every teenager under the sun, I pestered and pestered and pestered, and I got what I wanted for my birthday, but I didn't know what I was doing with weight. So I injured myself, injured my back, injured one of my shoulders at the time. And that went literally overnight, to not be able to exercise, not do my playing footy every day, not being able to do karate and kickboxing. So that was kind of the very beginning of my journey that ultimately led me to become a chiropractor. That's a very short version of it, but that was kind of the start, if you like.
So what in all of that? Because I mean, you as you know my story. I became a chiropractor because I had migraines and got treated. Migraines went. So what made you choose chiropractic specifically? Was it because you went to chiropractor and they treated you and got you well?
Okay, yeah, I missed that bit out, didn't I? So I started seeing a physio at that time when I'd injured my back and my shoulder for about 18 months, and that really didn't do anything for me. It was pleasurable at the time, it was quite nice, but there was nothing lasting about it. And at that time in my life, I'd applied to do law in university. I'd always wanted to be a lawyer since I was about 4 or 5. And eventually I learned I had a conscience because I wanted to be a defense lawyer, a criminal defense lawyer of all things. I think
Wow.
I'd seen all the things on the TV and the films and all that, and it looked glamorous and stuff. So I always wanted to do that. So then I had the injury, and then yeah, so I had the injury, and then I realized, you know what, I don't want to do this law thing. Started to see an osteopath after that, which really started to help me. So I looked at what they were doing in the osteopath clinic and I thought, they're helping loads of people, they're helping me. I don't want to do this law thing, this lawyer thing, because at that time I was doing what do they call it? Work experience, if you like,
I
in a
remember that.
solicitor's
Yeah.
office on a Friday afternoon. And it was fun. But I thought to myself, there's no way I'm doing this for the rest of my life. So I cancelled my application to do law in university. And I then applied to do osteopathy. And I did almost 4 years of training in that.
Wow. You know, I never knew that. So you actually originally trained as an osteopath?
Yeah, I never completed it because
Wow.
I got very, very close. I was this close.
Yeah.
So, but you know, the GCC for us as chiropractors, the GOSC is the equivalent for the osteopaths, as you
Yeah.
know. And at that time, both professions were getting regulated, and any college that was not full-time got closed. Guess what?
Oh
I was
no.
studying part-time and working full-time at the same time. And so my college got closed down. And I was so close to the touchline. I could taste it almost, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And so I said to my osteopath mentor at the time, what should I do, Phil? You know, this is, you know, put a kind of a put the kibosh on osteopathy for me somewhat, because at that time there was no colleges that were kind of reasonably priced. Like it was either what I was doing, which I think was about 2 grand a year part-time, or there was the BSO, which, you know, we're talking 1997 now, a long, long time ago. That was like 7 grand a year course fees then. That's about 30 odd years. It's 2 years shy of 30 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so that just wasn't doable. So the osteopath mentor said, why don't you become a chiropractor? And I said, that's interesting. So I applied to do chiropractic at Welsh Institute of Chiropractic, or WEOC for short. And I started that in 2001,
Did they
graduated
take
in,
into consideration your years?
no,
No.
not even a little bit, no.
So you had to start.
Um,
So basically, 4 years of your life doing one thing, you had to start all over again.
yeah, so I did 4 years of osteopathy and then 5 years of chiropractic. So I did 9 years of training
That's more.
before.
That's more than a medical doctor.
It is, yeah, yeah, it is.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was kind of my journey. And you know, I often joke to people, mate, I'm an osteopractor or a chiropath. They've taken the best bits out of both and kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
you know, my mum always said to us in many different ways, take, like for example, my youngest brother, he's a religious guy and he doesn't agree with everything in the Bible and all that kind of stuff. And my mum always says to him, take the good bits that you like and leave the other bits behind. So that's what I did with between the kind of the osteopathy and the chiropractic, and just it's made me a far better doctor today. than I would have been without it, you know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting the journey. I mean, got migraines, became a chiropractor. I was an auxiliary nurse, so I got a medical background. Then trained in nutrition and hypnosis. I think those experiences along the road make you stronger. And I think that every experience you have, I don't believe in negative experiences necessarily. They're uncomfortable, but they're experiences. My mother's like your mum, is the heart of the family, right? My mother used to say to me, God will only give you what, you can carry. And sometimes I'd used to think, well, could you take some of the burden off? Can you? The shopping bag's a bit heavy, mate. So, but I really followed that. So from there, from that journey, so you're in Wales. You've graduated as a chiropractor. What was the next step in your journey from there?
So graduated in 2006, and at that time, the GCC were way more heavy-handed than they are now. And my mentor through chiropractic school, during chiropractic school and beyond, was he was the first ever president of the UCA, Frank McBride, a fellow Scouser. And so I was obviously hearing a lot about what was going on in the profession via Frank. And I thought, I don't really want to practice in the UK at this point in time. So one of my best mates at the time he's from Ireland, and he had a flat in Dublin. So I moved out there for the first 3-4 years of my chiropractic career. And I was an associate there in 2 different practices, not at the same time. There's one for about 18 months, the other one 2 years after that or so. And so that was the first portion of my practice lifetime. That was in Dublin. And, still got some great friends from there. Well, actually, some of them aren't from there, but they live there. One of my best mates is Marta. She was one of our practice managers in one of the practices. She's from Poland. Got a message from her today, actually. So
Wow.
that was the first portion of my journey in Ireland, in Dublin.
And so over the time, because obviously, as a lot of people don't realize, they always think as chiropractors that we don't get injuries, we don't get hurt, we push ourselves, and so this misconception about chiropractors not being hurt, it's a myth, isn't it? This we don't get hurt.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Like when I like do lots of health workshops with clients. In fact, health workshops were always mandatory in my practices and when I was an associate, so people can understand more about what we do. Like one of my mentors in the past, he said, if you understand more about what the body does and how it works, you're going to better be able to take care of yourself. And so, like, most chiropractors have had a lot of injuries. And one of the questions I always ask clients in workshops and, just in conversations with clients, how often do you think I get adjusted? And they say, what, you get adjusted? And I say, yes. How often do you think I get adjusted? And they say, oh, I don't know, once a month, once, whatever, whatever the frequency might be. And I say, I
Yeah,
get checked every week.
yeah,
I get checked every week. And they say, why do you get checked every week? I was like, well, I've got a spine and a nervous system, and I want it
yeah.
to work as well as it can do so I can take care of you,
Yeah,
you know?
that's it's true, isn't it? Because it's like,
Yeah.
doctors, I remember there's I think it's a film called, I think it's called Patch Adams or something like that. I'm sure there's a line in there which is welcome to the profession that has the most suicide, alcoholic addiction, drug problems when they get into medical profession, right? And there's this idea that as chiropractors we don't ever hurt our backs, my wife's got this great face. She always says to me, "What would you tell a patient?" You know. And I'm
That's a
like,
great question.
okay, you know what I mean? Because, I ripped a disc about a year ago. It perforated, it's going into the spinal cord, rushed into hospital, all that kind of stuff. And that in itself was a journey. That really was a journey. And I almost thought of giving up chiropractic at that point, to be honest. But then I thought, okay, again, what would I tell a patient? So I enforced the nutrition. I looked at the psychological factors of all of that, and from there, I'm okay now, basically. So from there, so are you not practicing as a chiropractor anymore? Is that done now for you?
It's not done now. I have sold the practice.
Yeah,
As you know, we used to have Crawley Chiropractic Centre in West Sussex.
yeah,
That was sold. When was that sold now? Losing track of time, being away traveling now. That was
It's a hard
so
life, mate. I tell you, it's a hard life. I really bleed for you.
yeah. Well, to be honest, mate, as you know, being a business owner yourself, it's
Yeah,
we just worked so hard
we do.
consistently over a long period of time. I've earned it. We've
I
earned it, you
agree.
know.
I agree.
And one of my clients earlier today says, "Hope you're enjoying your trip, Danny. You deserve it." And I
Oh,
said, "Thank you,
nice.
mate.
Yeah,
Thank you."
no, you do. You and you and your other half, you're tirelessly working, and you know what it's like. You're trying to manage staff, manage people, manage diaries, manage personalities. So, what kind of led you to the chiropractic mindset mastery? Because within all of that, being a chiropractor, was there a light bulb moment that you went, do you know what? I want to do something a little bit different.
It's a great question, mate. And there's kind of multiple facets to that.
Yeah,
In my first book, THT or Total Health Transformation, I tend to abbreviate everything. We
yeah.
do that a lot in chiropractic, don't
Loads and
we?
yeah, we got our own lingo right now that, and I always think if I can't explain it to a 12-year-old, then don't explain it, you know.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah,
So from a very young age, mindset and the power of the mind has been a big area of interest and a big draw for me.
yeah,
Because I remember when I was about 13, the first ever personal development book I ever received, my mum bought it for me, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by
great
Susan
book.
Jeffers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
it's
good
still
book.
one of my favorites, and I recommend it to clients all the time and clients,
Yeah,
whether it be coaching clients or chiropractic clients. So yeah, I don't have my own practice anymore, but I do still do some locums as well as chiropractic coaching clients in terms of helping them master their mind, but also grow their practice as well, whether they're an associate or whether they're a business owner. It's about mastering what's going on between the ears. It's like anything, isn't it? Everything, whatever it might be, whether it's personal life, business, relationships, 90% of it's between your ears.
totally agree.
And if that's not right, then you're not going to be as good as you can be. So
And
yes, I am still doing some locums, not obviously till I'm back in the UK, which is going to be early March now. And so yeah, not in practice anymore, as in not in my own, but still
yeah.
doing some locums alongside the coaching. Yeah.
And within that journey, I mean, we all, I don't necessarily think I like the word guru, but who were your inspiration? Because we've got the obvious ones, Tony Robbins and people like that. Was there any kind of person that for you stood out as an inspiration in terms of a mindset journey?
Great question, because there are so many. Um, Before you said mindset, the first thing that popped into my head, one of my inspirations, big inspirations for the first book, is James Chestnut. Massive inspiration. I think he's going to be on the CMM podcast soon, actually. Be great. It'd be great honor to have him on the podcast soon. So he was a big inspiration for that. In terms of mindset, though, there's so many. Like Susan Jeffers, I've always
Mm,
looked up to her since I was um, you know, just about a teen. It was very early in my life to be reading a personal development book, never mind understanding it. So people like T. Harv Eker have been a big influence and mentor for me. The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
yeah.
Napoleon Hill, really, really
Wow.
old, but it's a classic. Think and Grow Rich, obviously. Blair Singer's a big mentor of mine,
Yeah.
big mentor of ours, actually. He wrote well, loads of books, but one of my favorite books of his is Team Code of Honor. There's also Sales Dogs and stuff like that. And he has a program, a DVD set, I think it was, or actually no, CD set. For the younger listeners, they've probably never seen a CD. But I've got that on CD, and that's called Little Voice Mastery. That's very, very cool. That's all about what's going on in there.
Yeah.
There's loads of mentors, past and present, in that regard. I tend to have mentors in every area of my life, mate, as you know, as I'm
Yeah.
sure you do.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I've got this thing that, if the glass is empty, you can put stuff in it. If the glass is full,
yeah,
you can never put anything in it. So it's the arrogance of thinking that we can never learn anything. I mean, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza.
yes.
Becoming superhuman, I think his book is. Um, I think from a financial point of view, I'd probably go for Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh yes,
Um,
Kiyosaki, of course, yeah.
yeah, amazing, 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 amazing book. Interesting, when you were talking there, I had this impression of you growing up. I think we talked about this once in the environment you grew up. It was almost it's kind of put your fists up, you know what I mean? It's that I talked to another Scouser. Funny for those listeners, by the way, that are listening in around the world. A Scouser is a endearment term for someone who's from Liverpool. Just so we know. And I had this impression of you. I think in every family there is one, and I think you're the one where we've got that strong, silent mother in the background who says almost like, not don't listen to your dad, but it's all right, son, come over here, just do what I say, right? And the mum gives the advice, but also you're a little bit different in the sense that you're thinking differently in that environment, because a lot of those environments, they're working class, hard backgrounds, and people have got set pathways. And working with books like improving your mind and that, it's quite unusual. Did you come against any resistance, people going, oh, don't be a soft lad and all that kind of stuff?
I don't think so in that regard. I was thinking about this the other day, actually, my personal development journey. Um, I remember like when I was must have been about the same age that I got that first book, They Feel Fear and Do It Anyway. I was very shy, or certainly I was always told I was. And then you hear something often enough, you end up believing it, don't you?
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong, I am still since I've been studying all this sort of stuff for many, many years now. I'm absolutely an introvert, extrovert,
Yeah.
because I love the presenting and the speaking and the training, and I'm also a DJ as well. So I love the performance element of it, but I don't recharge my batteries with other people. I do it on my own. So I'm
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely an introvert, extrovert, which people always find very, very difficult to believe when they see me presenting to large crowds of people or DJing. I'm like, well, you can be an introvert and do extrovert performances.
I think so. I think
So
what I've noticed about you is you take a while to have people coming into your circle and to trust them. But one of the things that I consider to be quite an honor about you and me, for example, is that you don't feel the need to speak. And when I'm in your presence, we don't have those awkward silences. And I think a true friendship is kind of like that, because I'm an introvert, extrovert as well. I love to get home. I'd love to go to parties, but my wife and I are the same. So we'll take our own car because then we can leave when we want to, right?
yeah,
So I read a book called Empath Survival Guide, and it was written by a psychologist, and she herself is an empath. And I totally relate to that. It's almost like, I think with empaths and also if you're introvert, extrovert, we can have this switch. I think of Pete Tong, for example. I always think he was a little bit like that. He's got this switch, but then they go into this real quiet where they need meditation and peace. So I definitely say that of you. So grow your business without killing yourself. That's such a powerful tagline. I mean, that is a great stopper. And what does this mean? And what does it mean in relation to chiropractors?
two great questions. So grow your business without killing yourself. That came about from me being burnt out multiple times in my life. We've had many conversations over the past 15 years where I've actually popped in to see you for an adjustment. And I'm like, mate, I'm burnt out.
Yeah.
So we'd have conversations about it. And, you know, you'd often say to me, you need to slow down, Dan. I was like, I know, mate. I've got a business to run. I've got a team to run and all that kind of stuff. So it came about because I got burnt out many times myself. And then I realized over the years, there's not one way to run a business. Many, many of my mentors and other people's mentors always talk about you've got to hustle, 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 hustle. That works to an extent. And then you get to a point where you just burnt out, like, because there's different loads of different philosophies. Like, I'm sure you've heard of human design, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
So human design, I'm a projector. I don't know whether you've ever done
I'm a generator.
are you? So you're a gen. Okay.
Yeah,
Claire's a mani gen,
yeah,
manifesting generator. So I'm a projector. I
yeah.
am not supposed to work more than 4 hours a day, mate. I'm absolutely not. It's
Yeah, I
like
get that.
short, sharp focus. And so basically this hustle thing, which so many mentors over the years and so many people still today say hustle, 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 that doesn't work for everyone.
No,
So a projector will get burnt out very quickly, hustling the whole time. And it's taken till in March, I'll be 46. It's taken me a long, long time to realize what I innately knew anyway. Like when I set up my practice in 2015, I set up an AM shift, 3 hours,
yeah,
PM shift, 4 hours, short and sharp bursts. But the reality is, since I've learned more about human design and stuff, and basically it's about getting in flow for what works best for you.
agree.
4 hours a day is far better for me than working 8, 9, 10 hours. So I don't know whether that answers your question, but hopefully somewhat, mate.
Yeah, yeah, no, 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 it does. I mean, it doesn't matter what time it is. I don't even need to set an alarm because I'll wake up at 6. My wife and I, thank the Lord, we're on the same page. You know, imagine if she was somebody who's, she's more introvert in the human design and more extrovert in the human design. She's
Sure.
that sort of thinking. We complement each other in that sense. Do you know what I mean? Because
Mm.
she can just go, whoa, hold on, and I get it done. You know, there's pros and cons to it, isn't there? So how does your CMM program combine kind of business and personal development for your clients? I mean, when I was reading through your bio, I suddenly realized that this is not just something for chiropractors. I mean, this is across the board. You could take the word chiropractor out of it, and you could. Is that a fair kind of sum up of that?
It is, mate. Yeah, and to be fair, it's in the beginning, it's chiropractic mindset mastery. In the future, it will be fill in the blank mindset mastery. Do you know, like Chicken Soup for the Soul has got
Yeah,
like, I don't know, about 40 books in the series. I see that for fill in the blank mindset mastery. You know, it will literally, it's very much, don't know whether this is even a word, transposable to
yeah, yeah,
any genre or any niche.
yeah.
The framework is there, and so there's three elements to it. There is presence, prosperity, and oh, the third one is escaping me right now. Presence, prosperity. It'll come back to me in a
That's
minute.
okay. I get like that, except that I'm 59.
Yeah, you're a
So
bit older than me, aren't
so
you?
what
Yeah.
what advice would you give someone on their let's say we go back to you before all of this and you used to come to say to me and Jean-Luc, you know, say, I'm just on verge of burnout. Looking back at your former younger self, what advice would you give knowing what you know now?
That is a great question. I've just remembered the third one, by the way.
Well,
It's
what is it?
presence, passion, prosperity.
Passion. Yeah.
Yes,
Got it.
indeed. So looking back, what would I give my younger self? What advice would I give my younger self? Was that the question, mate?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
advice, knowing what you know now about the personality type you are, the burnout, and taking your method, what would you say to your younger self?
A great question. So find out first off, I don't even know if human design existed then, but let's pretend it did, if it
Okay.
didn't. Find out what human design you are, understand what that means, and then plan your life around that in terms of do what you know. Like everyone knows innately, rarely, although they don't always think about it in those principles. Everybody knows innately when they're in flow doing something,
I agree.
something that brings them complete joy and bliss. Like who was it? One of the law of attraction people always used to say, follow your bliss. And if people did that
Mm,
more, then I think the world will be a lot happier place.
I agree. I often say go with what pulls you, not with what pushes you. You know,
Yeah,
project into the future where you want to be, and let it pull you that way. And there was a podcast I did the other day, and I talked about this. You know, a fish in a river and getting battered from side to side. But if you allow that battering to be part of your learning, you come out into this incredible ocean at the end, and this enlightenment. And a lot of people I find, it's my daughter is doing really well, and she's looks like she might have a deal with Sony, but she's right at that point where most people get to is, oh, Dad, I just need some money, and then could easily fall into a 9 to 5, just at the point, the tagline, the winning line, whatever you there. And I think that's a real challenge, is to keep going anyway, right?
yeah, it is, definitely is. I mean, I can relate to that somewhat with the DJing.
Yeah,
I don't do a lot these days, but I've actually been a DJ longer than I've been a chiropractor, and so like most, whatever the profession is, because your daughter's a musician, I'm guessing, when you're talking
she
about
is.
Sony.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's definitely parallels there between DJing career and, traditional musicians. Is she, what sort of genre is she, like
She's
pop
kind
music
of
and stuff?
kind of Billie Eilish, that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? But a little
Yeah.
bit Amy Winehouse too. And
Okay, got you.
she's one of those kids. I mean, she'll always be a kid to me, right? Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
She's
of course.
23, but she's one of those people that has, you know, when you meet people and you go, they're just going to make it. They're born to do that. I don't know if you found this, but I've tried to come away from the Healing Hearts a couple of times. My life never works. It's like, the man upstairs going, "Yeah, all right, mate. You want to go from play? No, 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 no. Come on, And that's what it's like. Now, the healing arts can be writing books and whatever, but I just think there are certain people that are in the flow, like you, like I, that are just born to it, basically.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's true.
question I have here is, what challenges do chiropractors do you feel face today, and how would the CMM help them in that and overcoming that?
What challenges do chiropractors face today? Well, there's loads. Like getting new clients in through the door,
Yeah,
people who are ideal clients,
yeah,
people they want to work with. Because, any business can take anybody, but are they always the right client? Probably not.
no,
So getting the right clients through the door that you want to work with, so that when you get up in the morning, you can't wait to get to work. Well, I mean, it's not even work, is it? If you're loving it, if you can't wait to get up in the morning, that's play,
of course,
So understanding what chiropractic means to them
yeah,
in terms of the chiropractic profession at large. Most chiropractors don't really know what they're offering because there's so much, depending on how experienced they are or not.
yeah,
What people are getting taught in chiropractic school ain't chiropractic anymore.
no, it's not.
I, I remember, I was talking about Frank McBride earlier on. He was one of my earlier mentors. There was a few expletives involved in the conversation with Frank when he talked about this, which I won't say on your podcast, mate. But he said, that's not chiropractic, that, Dan. Just get the something out of there with
Yeah,
your bit of paper, and then you can go and learn about what chiropractic really is. So people aren't getting taught chiropractic properly in most of the schools. There's a few great schools coming through, like the Scottish Chiropractic College
yeah.
is a pretty new college, but that's principal chiropractic. I've been a founding member of that. I've been donating to that since
Oh,
before it was
wow.
even born.
I'll have to look that
Because,
up.
yeah, because I believe in the principles of chiropractic,
Yeah.
like so basically getting back to basics, the true principles of chiropractic, that's what most chiropractors need some help with. And once they understand that and they embody that, and one of the other biggest challenges is chiropractors, they're not getting out there and into their community to educate people. Because one of the biggest things, when certainly in my own practice and whenever I've been an associate, I've always looked at it as if it's my own business within their business. really looking at it as if it was mine. And the education's always been key. Like it's always been key for me in terms of prior to being a chiropractor, but then once I became a chiropractor, I remember my first mentor, sorry, my first boss in Dublin said to me, right, so you're gonna have to be doing health workshops. I'm not putting any pressure on you to start them right now, but I'm just letting you know that you will need to start doing them soon. And I said, okay, this guy's name is Darren. I said, okay, Darren, when's the first opportunity I could do it? He says, you can do one tomorrow if you want. I said, great, I'm in, let's do it.
Wow.
This was literally in the first week as an associate in Dublin. So I quickly realized I didn't know what I was going to talk about at that point, you know, but I quickly realized that was back in the day. I used to use PowerPoint presentations. These days, give me some big fat markers and a flip chart.
Best way.
And that's how I love to present now. It's far better for engagement. But in those days, I realized very quickly, do you know what? People are understanding this. And when they're understanding, as in understanding the
Yeah.
chiropractic lifestyle and stuff, they're staying around longer.
Yeah.
Then I realized, you know what? Education is key in all aspects.
It is, and I think the core of chiropractic that I believe in, and it's a philosophy I've held on to, is innate intelligence.
Yeah.
The body wants to heal. That's what chiropractic was about. Back to D.D. Palmer in 1895. It wants to heal. It wants to get better. And I think when patients come to me, it's very much like, look, I've never healed a person in my entire 30 years as a chiropractor. Not one. Your body has healed you. But I'm going to facilitate a process, like I'm going to plug in the battery to the car, but you're going to have to drive that car. And I think that, and you've talked about this before, and we've talked about this in accountability, the role that accountability has. Within all of your journey, was there one or many success stories or pivotal points when something just switched for you?
In terms of my chiropractic career or otherwise, in what
Just,
context?
just, yeah, just as a chiropractor, or as you, where you went, okay, I'm a chiropractor. Like, I can, when you pass your test, driving test, you can just move a car. It doesn't mean you can drive a car. That comes with experience. And a bit like with your journey now, is there a point where you suddenly went, no, there's more to this than what's going on. I need to move into a broader area.
That's a great question, mate. So very early in my chiropractic career, when I was working with Darren actually in Dublin, he had mentors at the time. Do you remember John Himwood from Powerful Practices?
Yeah.
So John was Darren's coach, and Darren, I later learned, having later run my own practice, you can't outsource the education of your associate. You can, but you most likely shouldn't. So what I mean by that is, from day one, rather than training me and teaching me, because Darren didn't have time. So if you don't have time to have an associate, you probably shouldn't have one. In
Totally
terms
agree.
of, you want to invest in your investment. And so he said, why don't you go and speak to John about getting coaching? And I was like, interesting. So I started getting coaching through Powerful Practices. It wasn't with John himself, but it was with one of his coaches. And I looked at Doug was his name. I'm sure that's still his name. And so that's as good as my jokes get, mate. And so,
It's all right,
so
don't
we
worry.
were,
My daughter's always dad jokes, right? So my wife's going, oh God, dad joke.
yeah, I love a good dad joke. One of our personal trainers used to tell amazing dad jokes. They're not amazing. They're usually crap, aren't they? But anyway,
They are.
so but they're good because they're so bad.
Yeah, they are.
So I was coached and mentored by Doug, and I looked at from his perspective in terms of, it basically lit a fire under me and I said to myself, I'm going to be a coach someday. That was right at the very beginning of my chiropractic career. I looked at what Doug was doing and I thought, that sounds awesome. At some point, I'm going to do that myself. So you could say that was a turning point certainly in terms of where I am now in my career, that was a starting point for my coaching career because it just kind of a little bit of a light bulb moment
Yeah.
happened in that moment.
And we all have that. So in terms of daily habits,
Yeah.
they're really important. So kind of what daily habits or practices do you recommend that we should stay focused on?
Yeah, there's quite a few. And so a few really simple ones that I do consistently, and I've brought it with me on this trip as well. I journal every day, and it's not just me writing endlessly. There's a specific strategy to that for me. So I'll focus on 10 things and write down 10 things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah,
Not just what I'm grateful for, but it's also how that makes me feel. And I call that gratitude on steroids
love it.
because it really amplifies it exponentially if you can, or when you get into the feeling of it, because it's not just the thing, it's how it makes you feel. And that, like, law of attraction, they always talk about, people often think, oh, if I just think about it enough, it will materialize. Well,
No,
actually, no. First
no.
off, the word in attraction of note is action.
Yeah,
So you've
yeah,
got to take action.
true.
And so in addition to that, though, it's the feeling that attracts the thing in. Because we're all energy, aren't we? We've had this
Totally.
conversation many, many times over the years. What you put out there comes back.
I agree. I mean, I remember they're saying, like, let's say, for example, you happen to be cars are your thing. It's not my thing, but let's say you want a particular car, like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. They say go into the showroom, sit in the car, feel the
Yeah.
wheels, smell the smell. But one of the big things I've hopefully imparted to my children is if you want something in your life and you want to attract it, even my middle daughter, the musician, she's really into law of attraction. And I've tried to say to her, look, don't want it so much because that wanting creates, I must have it. It's almost like putting a dam. It's like another tree in the river. Decide you want it, know what it's going to feel like, and let it go.
Yeah.
And the universe is like got a time lag, a bit like a rubber band. You stretch it, stretches and stretches, and it bounces back, and it will happen. It's, I suppose, from a religious point of view, they would call it faith, wouldn't they? You've just got to know it's already happened. And if something doesn't happen, I'm a great believer in that's part of the lesson. Learning to accept maybe that, that wasn't for you, and that's fine. Just let it go. So let me talk about your books because I'm fascinated by them actually, and the titles are great. So Total Health Transformation and the 80/20 Chiropractic. What do you want your readers to take away from that? Because obviously people listening to this are going to be a lot of chiropractors, especially in America where it's massive. And my hope is they're going to go out and get these books. What's the takeaway that you want from them reading these books?
Well, there are many, but to summarize, like the whole philosophy, particularly the first one, Total Health Transformation, the whole philosophy that I call it the THT triad.
Yeah,
It is eat on purpose, move on purpose, and think on purpose.
I love
And
that.
that purpose really is to take your health from where it is now to where you absolutely love it to be. And I am yet to meet anyone in my life that doesn't want more health, doesn't want more energy, doesn't want more vitality
Yeah,
and peace of mind. So everyone wants more of these things. Not everybody's prepared to work for it, as you well know, being in the healing arts for longer than me, mate. So the message is eat, move, and think on purpose. Take responsibility for your life.
yeah,
That's the thing that it's almost encouraged these days for people not to take responsibility for their life, to blame, justify, and deny. The reality is anyone that's ever done anything of note in their lives and in the world, they take responsibility for themselves and they role model as best as they can, so take responsibility, eat, move, and think on purpose, and just be the best you can be in life and business. And you can't go too far wrong if you stick to those principles, I would suggest.
I agree. And I think that a lot of people there's a lot of beating yourself up. I remember Jordan Peterson was asked similar to the question I asked you, but a little bit different. He was asked to look back and what would he tell his former self not to do, where he'd gone wrong or whatever. And Jordan Peterson just stopped because he doesn't just reactive. He's not reactive, right? He just stopped. He thought half a minute, maybe. It took quite a while, it seemed like a lifetime. And he turned around and he said, I'm not going to portray my former self. My former self did what it needed to do because at the time it was right. And I really love that because I've in my life I've had things happen to me or might have been a little bit mean to someone, and at the time I did it because I didn't understand, but now I understand. It's like, okay, what can I change and take responsibility for that? Because you're absolutely right. So many people are constantly, I tell people about when they come to see me, one of the things is, do you want to get well? Which is a really weird question for a lot of people to hear. That's one of the first things I say. And also I explain to them that I'm going to work with you, but you've got to work with me. You've got to put the work in, basically, and I think as for you and I, especially, it's very difficult. We have what I call a golden patient. The golden patient is the one that turns around and goes, when do you want to see me again? That's the patient I want to work with, and I've had in my life patients blame me for making them well. I know, go figure, right? I know, or they want to blame, or I had somebody recently who has hurt their back and they've turned around and they're like, when's this going to get better? How long is it going to take? I said, I can't tell you that, if you put the work in, you'll get the work out, and that's the hardest thing that I found, is that people don't want to take responsibility, so it's absolutely true. So in terms of where you're at now in your journey and in the books, are you continuing to write now? Is that the plan?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm currently working on Chiropractic Mindset Mastery, the book.
Yeah.
Because I'm speaking in March at a couple of gigs, actually, a couple of speaking events at the UCA Spring Conference. So I'm aiming to have a copy of that in my hand when I
Brilliant.
deliver that talk. So watch this space for that one. So yeah, that's going to be the third book. And it's a bit of a time pressure to do that because that
Yeah.
speaking gig is the 15th of March. So
Wow.
it's not far away. But there's nothing like some deadlines and accountability to make you get stuff done, though, is there?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm trying to do. I've got two other people lined up. I'm doing a podcast. We talked about this before, about once a month, because the editing and everything takes a lot of time. And I think sometimes when I've got that, it does give me a kick up the backside and go, right, come on, you've got to get this done. I mean, I'm a bit of a butterfly. I always like to be doing things. I always have this idea that life is very short and Earth is like a university. We're here to learn, right?
Yeah.
So knowledge is my big thing. I absolutely, kind of love it. So in terms of your books and that, how do people get hold of them? So I mean, not just chiropractors. I personally think if you take away the chiropractic out of it and you just give this as a book to somebody and say, read this, but not with a chiropractic connotation to it, I think it's going to help you. So what's the best way for people to get hold of that? Can they buy it online?
Yeah, both of those books are available on Amazon.
Okay.
So in UK, amazon.co.uk. If it was worldwide, it would be .com.
Yeah.
I have people buying from all over. Could be England, could be Australia, it could be the US,
Yeah.
So that's where they can find the books. The Chiropractic Mindset Mastery, if people want to get in touch and learn a bit more about that, they could go to chiropracticmindsetmastery.com.
Okay.
There's information there for them to get in touch. You can also get hold of me on Facebook as well,
Okay.
Danny Scarhill.
And are you could you just spell your surname for people who don't know how to spell, just so we know?
Yes, Scahill.
Great, cool.
Scarhill. Yeah,
And you're open to people reaching out to you, say for example, and they say, Dr. Danny, could you come and give a talk to us? Could you come and do a lecture? You're open for that?
absolutely. Yeah, more than happy to do talks, lectures, keynotes, whatever you might want to call it. Yeah, happy to do that, mate.
Fantastic. So we have a tradition on Zen Footsteps, and we like to leave our guests by saying We want you to, you can see above me my Gandhi quote there, your favorite quote and why.
Yes, I will give you the clean version of this, mate, as it's
Can I just say that Danny sent me his quote before I said about a quote, and we had certain words in there, and I said probably best not, because
yes,
that's me too. I'm always being reined up for that. I'm going, You're South African. You might want to say it, and you know you can say it, but don't, right?"
good point, well made. So it works either way. It's just
Yeah.
more, there's more emphasis with the expletive in there. Hey ho, we'll do the clean
Well,
version.
we'll do the clean version, but we'll know that they can insert the other version with a capital F, and we all know we were talking about. There we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is this, and it's 2009, Danny Scarhill. This quote, by the way, it's
Oh,
actually something
good.
I came up with. Sometimes I'll write it and I'll put Danny Scarhill 2009 in brackets, and people are like, what? Anyway, so perseverance with purpose is unstoppable.
Wow.
So the place where you put the F word, if you choose to,
Yeah.
perseverance with purpose
Yeah.
is
Effing. Yeah.
unstoppable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that came about through just like the life journey that I've been on, not too dissimilar to many people's life journey. There's ups and downs, and you know, when you get knocked down, you can either stay down or you get back up.
Yeah.
And you're talking about earlier on about your daughter, musician, and I was talking briefly about DJing, like the amount of knockbacks that you have along the way in life, whether that's in music, showbiz, chiropractic, whatever it is. If you decide not to persevere, then you're giving up.
I agree.
So perseverance with purpose is unstoppable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That came about through my life journey, and I'm sure many people can relate to that, and hopefully they'll find some drive and energy from that, because I always have.
I think you have to. I think that I often think sometimes I'll be on my deathbed one day, family gathered around, and I'll be going, I've got it. You know? Just first conversation I'm going to have with God is going, look, I just got it. Couldn't I just stuck around a little bit longer when I just figured it out? You know, so it's a
Well,
bit
was
like
that
that.
the secret to life,
Wow,
was it?
mate, listen, this that's an hour. It's gone really quickly. Again, I'm jealous because you're over there. My daughter seems to be, my eldest is 26 in Australia, traveling a lot more than I am. But yeah, we need to have that. We need to have that Guinness when you get back into the UK. But thank you very much. And this podcast, for anybody listening, this is going to be coming out March. So it'll be coming out in March. And as you said, if you want to follow up with Danny and go and get his books and get in contact with him, by all means, I'm sure, like he said, he's very open to, maybe he can even work as a mentor. He's he's quite an inspiration. It's interesting. I think it comes to a certain point when, I know I'm older than you, but I've learned a lot from you, right? It's what is age after all, you know? So, but love to your other half, by the way.
Will do, mate.
She's probably out sunbathing by the pool. Oh, no, it's evening there, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, she's outside on the veranda, mate.
Oh, shit, it's a tough
Yeah,
life.
tough life. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on the show, mate.
Absolute
Really
pleasure, mate.
appreciate it.
Yeah, you take care, yeah, and we'll catch you up when you come back into the UK.
Yes, indeed, mate. All the best.
Take care, buddy. Bye. Bye.